Conversations and letters and emails from many citizens, which I'm grateful that people got involved and at least took time to understand a little bit what may affect them and how it can also affect the city overall in the future. I don't think the council had an opportunity to since that public hearing to express themselves. What I'd like to do tonight, I don't have my 5-minute timer with me, but I'd like to give everybody at least 5 minutes, start with Councilmember Critton, and just maybe share a few thoughts or views we thought about the public hearing and maybe your point of view if you're supporting or not supporting the form-based code. Councilman Critton.
Well, first of all, I'd really like to thank all those that have come, many of you again tonight. Those that are here tonight, those that came to the hearing, those that have sent letters, those that have paid attention to this issue. I think it's probably fairly clear to all of you where my position is. I've done a bit of public outreach for that purpose. This issue is one that I have very strong feelings about, as far as thinking it's appropriate that we go to the extent we have in the zoning effort called form-based code. I think it's one thing to talk about zoning a neighbor to keep from doing me harm as a neighbor, but I don't believe that it's proper for government to reach over into his property and put upon him my likes and dislikes in his property. It does me no harm if his house is purple, green, and yellow. Might offend my sensibilities, but it's his house. And of course, it's just an example. Some have commented that because after several meetings or several requests, they kind of toned down how much this affects single-family residences. That's appreciated. But what we found out from the hearing is that there's a whole lot of things that even the consultants were unaware of that very severely affect our businesses as well. And our businesses, I believe, are the lifeblood of our city. We have sales tax, but we get those from businesses, and businesses give jobs, and we are a very desirable city. I love it here. I came here 40 years ago. I wasn't wanting to shut the gate on anyone else, and I don't suppose any of you do, but everyone keeps discovering it, and a lot of people move here. But it's the facts of the matter that a residence by itself does not pay its upkeep in city services, school children education, curb, gutter, sewer, water, and all of those things. Now we have service fees for some of those, sewer, water, and such. But without businesses, without business employees and taxes and sales tax, we couldn't function as a city. And we're on the threshold of having that issue because we're getting a lot more houses than we are businesses. So I do not want to have us do anything that would discourage a new business or make it more difficult for those businesses that are here. A lot of the comments I heard in the hearing and that I've received letters on since are from business people that say, even if I'm grandfathered, I need to keep up, I need to update, I need to stay current, I need to be competitive. And one of the ones that spoke in the meeting is where I bought my last car. But they're a little lot right now. They want to become a real business with the building and the sign. And if this passed, they'd be stopped. And how many businesses like them that might want to come to Heber? Aside from that, I happen to like Heber the way it is. I like the wide open feeling. The last letter I got, I think, or next to last, was from someone that had visited a little town up in Wyoming that was operating similar to form-based. They had all their businesses up against the street and no parking that was around the back. They couldn't even find where to park. They couldn't even tell what the stores were selling. And they said it felt like going down a tunnel, like they were enclosed in, and they were so happy to get back to Heber and have this open feeling. The one little part of this that I think we want to see our planning commission maybe farm out to some students to help us with is what we call branding, or trying to decide, kind of what our message to the world is. But I think what we have is what our message is. It seems to be working. Lots of people seem to want to come here, both to visit and to live. So I like it the way it is. We have zoning. Through this process, I discovered how much zoning we already have, way more than I thought we did. I think we can tweak it here and there. Frankly, we have a planning commission meets every single month, and they're tweaking every month, adding to mostly. I haven't seen take off too much zoning. They mostly add to it. So it's a growing thing, and it can look at this form-based ideas, and if there's any that the community supports or businessman supports, those can be brought into our present code, and that's what I'd like to see us do. But again, I so thank all of you for all the calls and your attendance, and coming to this meeting again, and several meetings. I hope the way for a majority, I only know of 3 that's said they're for form-based. Now, I did invite, sincerely, in 2 forums that maybe I missed some, and if there's a few here that are for it, maybe tweak a hand up or something, because I'd like to have you be counted. But mostly I see my citizens, my fellow citizens, those that I represent as a councilman, seem to be against the form-based code going any further. Thank you.
Well, I agree with Ron. It's been a great process to be able to have the planning experts and professionals bring us what the best practices are in their places, and then say, what does this do for our community? What do we want to do to try and address the problems that we have been discussing over the last year? I did want to ask a question of Tony as part of my comments. Our 2 newest zones, was that the PCMU and the MERC? How do you pronounce that? MURC. Are those form-based zones that we currently have? So we currently have 2 zones in our community, the most recently adopted zones that are form-based. And there's nothing inherently, the only inherent difference in form-based is we're looking at the form of the building as opposed to, we want to have our stores here, we want to have our houses here. So that's something that we already have, and I think part of what's, we've called this the form-based code, but underneath the form-based code is a whole range of how much do we enforce it? This doesn't change any enforcement. Do we want to enforce it more or less? Are we going to have more code enforcement or less? All those are things that have to be decided within the range, like the sign ordinance. I think I said something in the meeting that we have a small town like Oakley where you might have a few little signs, and then you have Las Vegas. And the reason we looked at the sign ordinance was a lot of people said, oh, this is looking like a big city and we want to keep it rural. Well, we moved it this way, and the business says, no, you moved it too far this way. So we want to make sure that we find a place that works for the businesses, and we can still maintain that small town community feel. I don't know, that's going to be different for everybody. That's a subjective thing, but that's kind of where that came from. And I certainly agree with the planners who suggested that we give that back to the Planning Commission and make sure we're getting more input from the businesses when they come up with a new proposal. I do feel like if we just throw this out in its entirety, we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because there are parts that are good. A lot of people who are opposed to this in its whole have said there are some good things here that would be beneficial to our community. I would like to see us try to salvage those things. There's been a lot of work and study, and perhaps we can flesh out which parts of this are going to improve our community and prepare us for the future. These are the kinds of things that are happening all over the state to prepare for this double population, which is being anticipated in the next 20 years. And maybe we can figure out which things will be beneficial to our community, which ones won't. Obviously, some of the things that were, I went through all of the letters and emails, and some of the things that people didn't like are things that are already in our existing code. Including like having a tree in the park strip. That's already in our code, and we don't enforce it, and no one's going to be forced to put a tree in the park strip. So there are a lot of details that we all, even as council members, became aware of that we were not entirely aware of how the code worked in some of the details. So those are things that we can clarify what is already in our existing code and not look at those things as the problem. I think the other suggestion is to have it not apply to existing homes. There was one provision that said if you remodel up to 75%, it would apply to you. And we were told by some local bankers that if we don't have some standard, that can affect the neighbors' property values, because in some cities where the population gets bigger, some crazy things have been built and they've had lawsuits, and they said this is to protect the neighbors' property values. I'm fine to throw that out, like we don't need to apply that to any existing home. The individual businesses, there were some allowed uses that should have been in there that weren't, that the planners are suggesting that we make sure that those are, of course, in there. Density, certainly a delicate balance. We have areas all around us that have been already given a ton of density. There's a whole North Village that could be a town bigger than Heber. So to balance, trying to make sure that our town thrives, particularly our downtown, with opportunities for them to go to new areas, that's a tricky balance, and I think we need to continue to look at that, because if we don't do anything, then we end up with most of that growth going outside of our community, and we aren't able to maintain and continue it, or to improve our downtown and have it thrive. Someone pointed out an example to me in Sugar House where the old zoning was like where that Shopco area in Sugar House, but then in the new areas, it was more beneficial for their businesses because people were coming there, they're spending a lot of money there, they're spending time there. I hope before we come up with any changes, we can get more input from the businesses, because certainly what we do want to do is support our businesses, have economic development. Like Ron mentioned, we can't support everything on residential, and the more residential we get, which has already been awarded, this is without us doing one single thing, business density that's already been awarded, decisions that have already been made, we need to make sure that we have a strong business climate to support the people and the businesses here. So anyway, that's all I have.
I feel like at this point, with the form-based code in the revision that we've got, I feel like we need to revisit the objectives that brought this up, things that we want to accomplish in shaping our city, the way we want our city to look and feel, and then determine what parts of this may or may not meet those objectives. I'd like to tie these back specifically. I'd like to tie specific items in the form-based code back to the objectives. Maybe that's just a revitalization district in downtown, protecting local businesses. Maybe that's only allowing us in new subdivisions. And maybe it's only in one area. The sign ordinance, I feel like, I do disagree with Colleen a little bit on this. I feel like the council last year, before I was on, sent a clear message to the business owners on Main Street that we weren't going to mess with the signs. And I'd like to stick with that clear message, that I certainly don't want to mess with the signs. I think the current sign ordinance is what needs to stay. I don't see any reason why it needs to go back to the planning commission. We've kind of gone through this, feels like a couple of times, and I'd like to kind of put that one to bed. At the same time, I do agree with both Ron and Colleen. We need to foster businesses. A bedroom community just cannot rely on homes and property taxes alone. There needs to be a good, solid business base. And if that's the objective that we want in our downtown to avoid the urban sprawl that we might see, then let's find the things that will be able to build that, protect that, and move forward on that. But I certainly don't want to chase current businesses or future businesses away. I think that's the biggest concern that I have.
Well, I think everyone has spoken so far has some good points. I think that my major concern is the economic viability of the downtown. I think there are some areas in the immediate downtown area that are run down, that really need some revitalizing. And I think that it's been that way for quite a while. It hasn't changed. I think we need something to help change that. I'm in agreement as far as the residential areas. I really don't want to take away anybody's personal property if folks are happy with the way things are as far as their residential zoning and everything goes, I don't have any objection to not doing anything major there. I've had a number of businessmen this past week that have talked to me about the proposed code revisions, specifically for the commercial area, retail area. They want something to happen. And whether we do something with downtown, make it a NURC zone, or something else to the like, so that we can go forward and do something positive with the economic area, I'm all for that. I think the sign ordinance, where it is right now, I would just as soon leave it as it is and not mess with that any further. I recall the last number of years that the sign ordinance has been looked at and re-looked at and proposed revisions and revisions, and we have yet to come up with something that's really superior to what we have. I say just leave that as is, but I think we need to make sure that we get rather than throw everything out and start over again, I think we need to refine what we have as far as the commercial areas and make sure that something happens there, and that's what I'm for. Appreciate everybody coming out. An awful lot of interest to this, and I certainly hope that you understand that we're not trying to ram something down your throats. We want to get it right. We want to make sure that it's an improvement to Heber City, and that's what we're concerned about. And I appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all of you. This whole process over a year ago was trying to find out what the citizens wanted for the future growth and for what has happened in the past. And that was my goal in the very beginning, was to see what the people wanted, and not just a few people that come here regularly to city council meetings and want increased densities and so forth. And so to me, that was my goal in the beginning. Jeff Smith, you weren't elected back then, I understand, but my objectives in the very beginning were downtown revitalization. The form-based code did offer a promise of letting our city borders blend in with the county instead of having high density always being approved in each new annexation. But this version of the form-based code does not give that to us. I did want to stop the high-density automatic upzones. I know that this version of the form-based code grants so much more density than I can even believe, and I'm not for that at all. I think we need to be very careful about density that we give. Think about how much density has already been given in the North Village and through the county, and that kind, and it's not developed yet, and it's been sitting there for years. So giving density away is not the answer to automatic revitalization, and it just leaves it hanging there so that we're not revitalizing our downtown, which we'd like to see, but it's going to the newer places that are high density already. So I just don't believe this form-based code version gives us what we need to be able to revitalize our downtown and keep our city going the way that I think we like. But we have a lot of issues, right? We have to keep working on the bypass road, and we hope to get that built. It's going to take a lot of political muscle and a lot of your support too to get that done. But it's getting closer than it ever has before. But until we get that done, it is going to be hard to do downtown revitalization. The city needs to think about providing parking downtown or working with businesses to provide more parking downtown. The other goal that I had for the new zoning changes was to provide more walkability where we could, so that we always wouldn't have to drive downtown to get what we need. And yet we do allow quite a bit of commercial development all the way down, not just in our downtown, but from north to south. in our area. Okay, so I have looked at this latest version of the form-based code, and I cannot support it the way that it is currently put into place. I have 4 pages of changes, and even that, I'm not willing to go wholesale over to all of these new zones. I think, and I agree with Ron, I've done more research on our current code. We already allow alleys in the PCMU zone, all right, and that was a big sticking point to some people. We already have design standards in the PCMU zone. We've already outlawed vinyl in the MURCZ zone. So we have things, you know, going this direction of form-based code, and form-based code is only saying in our current code. But I think we need to look at our current code the way it is, improve it where we can, and I'm going to be offering some suggestions to the Planning Commission that are different than the form-based code, where I would propose that we do not grant automatic density increases for annexations, and that we do consider some ideas in this form-based code to allow more commercial development within more areas of our city. But I'm not saying to put a store next to your house. I'm not saying that at all. But we do need to, you know, have homegrown businesses. We need to help encourage that within our city. Businesses that you might be able to start in your home, but yet then can lead, you know, to larger and larger scales within our city. I mean, every city knows in this whole country that if you're able to have a homegrown business succeed, they're likely to stay in the city. But it's very, very expensive to try to entice businesses to come to your city and give away, you know, tax breaks, tax subsidies, build infrastructure to bring new businesses into your city. It's a lot better to grow them at home. So I'm looking into those kinds of ideas. Mr. Kohler, as our planner, he's offering in his latest staff report to everyone that instead of just giving away automatic densities, that densities would only be given away if developers voluntarily wanted to follow some of the design standards, but perhaps, this is just perhaps only in this downtown area, you know, our downtown core that we would really like to shine and make beautiful and, you know, be an attraction. So I think the weight of the form-based code has collapsed. The weight of all the details has certainly collapsed it. And I don't think it's the answer for our city right now, but I think there are answers out there, and I want to keep working towards them. But I'm not going to be able to come up with this by myself. Please don't even think that. You know, this is about what we want, what all of us want, and what even more of our neighbors want. And it can't be trusted to an expert. It can't be trusted to just those sitting up here. This is where, you know, imagery really needs to get involved and decide, okay, what are some answers to the problems that we see? So thank you again for all of your participation. Please don't